Hi, everybody. As you should have seen in an email by now, Mom did pass away very peacefully. We had a wonderful service for her yesterday, but I'm not mentally prepared to return to a classroom at this point, and decided that I could probably much more easily focus on completing a video. So you will be coming, again, you will have seen in the email, you will be coming to class tomorrow for a couple of reasons. One is to meet your group. The other is to get a little bit of a head start on what will be a very challenging assignment a week from tomorrow. And I'm actually going to work through that assignment for you in this video, in a second video. But in this video, I'm going to talk about what to do when you get to class Wednesday. And as I said, primarily we are looking at meeting your classmates. And as you see here in your group, and my screen is a little different than yours. I think it's a little simpler for you to find your group. I've never had anyone find a problem. You can call IT help if you do. But when you click on groups, you will find a number and a color. The number 1 is for my 2:30 class. The number 2 is for the 4 o'clock class. So these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups in the class that meets from 2:30 to 3:45. These are the groups that meet from 4 to 5:15. And again, my brain is completely scattered, so I apologize, and don't be surprised at all if I'm a few minutes off on that. So if your class starts at about 2, you're in class 1. If your class starts at about 4, you're in class 2. And as you open your group, you'll see your members. Your seating location will be designated by the word of the color of your group above the screen at one of the tables in the room. Join your group, introduce yourselves, exchange your contact information. About a third of your grade is going to depend on your group and its performance, so getting off to a good start is going to be important to you. Your own personal grade will also be very significantly affected because each of your group members, along with me, at the end of the semester will evaluate your participation in the group. And those are not giveaway grades. I've given as low as, I've given a number of Fs in participation that led to very low grades for some students. So meet your folks, make friends, if not friends, make colleagues, and commit to a good semester. Okay. From there, or actually even before there, you're going to be selecting a company. Each student in the class will have a different company. I do this for a number of reasons. One, though, or probably the primary reason I started to do it, is it makes it virtually impossible to cheat in my class. The only way you can cheat on the assignments is by having someone else do your work, and I frankly can't do much about that. If you want to hire an imposter to come in and take your class, you could do that also. But each individual and each person will have a different company to do a midterm and a final on, and we'll be rotating those companies in group assignments as we move through the semester. Okay. And the second reason, two more reasons I'll give you. The second reason I do this is it helps keeps me fresh too. I have to stay up to date every semester. I'll familiarize myself with another sometimes 40, 50, maybe even 75 companies that I have to look at, I have to have some understanding of, and it's really good brain stimulus for me. And finally, as you see here, you will be picking from a list of something called IPOs, initial public offerings. So let me get this screen open. So just as if I was doing the assignment myself, I'm opening this screen. Initial public offerings are in many ways the kind of the Super Award or the Academy Award or the World Series or whatever you want to call it in terms of winning a contest of entrepreneurs who really want to grow. As an entrepreneur, you can open a business just by getting a license, setting up an LLC, costs you very little money. You invest some of your own money, usually at the start. Sometimes you'll go to mom and dad or a rich uncle, some friends, scrape some money together. But as your business takes off, investment changes. The first level of investment is usually from something called angel investors or venture capitalists, which I often call vulture capitalists. And there's a lot of people that take a look at small businesses and either support them to help them grow for sometimes altruistic or give them money to try to take advantage of any growth opportunities in terms of the vultures. Any way you look at it, though, these companies will sell about 20% of their stock typically. And as we can see, I'll go ahead and open it up here. This is, let's see which of these numbers here. I don't really have the offering on this page, but you can take the number of shares and multiply them times the offer price. So 3 million shares times $16. This company raised $48 million. And $48 million is actually a fairly small amount of money for IPOs to raise. The records now are well on up into the billions of dollars. And basically what you do is sell the public, because this is now no longer private investors. You sell the public about 20% of your company and you bring in cash. Does it have anything to do with income? Does it have anything to do with revenues? You have, for example, you've taken your car out and you've got a buddy and your car's worth $1,000 and your buddy wants to drive it one day a week, about a seventh of it, so you sell it to him for $130, his share, and he now owns 1/7 of your car. So kind of a silly example, but it's pretty much exactly what these companies do. And why IPOs are so important is because of what they do with that money. That money, much of that money, all of that money really is used to grow, but much of that money is actually used to hire. These are the kinds of companies who are hiring more than anyone else. So again, this company here, they now have $40 million, and a substantial amount of that is going to go to hiring. So anytime you get to understand IPOs, or you want to follow IPOs, you'll be able to follow the job market. These are the places financial money is flowing to. Much of that money is flowing to salaries. Those salaries are generating jobs, and they're the kinds of companies you want to work for. If you can get in early as an employee in an IPO, work your way up into an equity position, you can do like a couple of our faculty have here, and retire very early, and enjoy your life and your career very much too. So again, each of you is going to select a different company, and I want to talk a little bit about how you should go about selecting that company. And there's a fair amount of information right here on this page. First thing you want to do is where it says show entries, the default is 50, you want to change it to 200. There are 179 of these boogers for 50 of you to split up. Okay, so we only need about a third of them. And guaranteed right now, before you even have to ask me, all of these companies will have plenty of marketing issues to work on. The only question kind of is the kind of company you want to work with. Now, as you see here, they're really dominated by healthcare. which is lucky for us marketers because the best marketing and sales jobs in the world, and mostly the best jobs in the world right now, are in the pharmaceutical industry. I worked for about a decade in medical devices, which is I would guess you'd call it a complementary or a companion industry to pharmaceuticals, in that they work almost exactly the same way. They're the most profitable of companies. They're the most rapid growth of companies. They have the most upward mobility. I worked at SEBA for 10 years, and if I wasn't getting promoted every 8 or 9 months, then I was unhappy. I started out in today's dollars at a salary of about, I don't know, $55,000, $60,000. I left 10 years later at a salary in today's dollars of almost $250,000. So they're the kind of company you can really take off. So enough selling on that. You now have to pick one. As I said, many of these will be healthcare companies. I'll slide on down, though. Some of you may be less interested in healthcare, and so let's take a look at a consumer goods company. First thing you want to do is click here. And their mission is to redefine urban mobility and make life better. #1 brand. So these look like folk that are building e-scooters. Sounds like a pretty interesting kind of company. I want to do a couple of more things, though, before I decide this is the company that I want. Sorry, that didn't back me up to the place I wanted to go. I wanted to back up from here. Excuse me, I've lost my scroll here. Yeah, maybe if I go to here, that'll do it. Yeah, give me my target. And as you can see, this is why I'm not trying to stand in front of a classroom. Brain is dodging from place to place. So returning to introduction and resources. Let me open it in a new tab so I won't run into that again. I've now looked at the company and I said, okay, that sounds like somebody I'd like to spend a significant amount of time with for the rest of this semester. And now, of course, I've lost them, so let me search for them. This is NIU. Here they are. So I clicked here before to get to a general description page. When I click here, I open up a website, Yahoo Finance, finance.yahoo.com, that we'll be spending an awful lot of time on in this semester. So you're going to want to get real comfortable with this, get to know it. And I'm going to start by opening up the stock chart, and it will show that this company, which did an IPO this is interesting. I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. It's not going to bother me much. But this is showing a stock chart all the way back to '88. So while they did something like an IPO, it must have been some sort of expansion. It's not something I'm going to worry about in terms of technicalities. But this shows me movement in terms of a stock chart. You know, this is a company that's kind of bounced around in its value. I'll next click on financials. And sometimes, especially with the startup pharmaceutical companies, there won't really be any financials, and that doesn't really present us with significant problems. But with this particular company, here's my financial information. I've got all I need. I don't want to, you don't need to spend a lot of time agonizing over exactly who you're going to be. I would go back here, click on select your company. And as the directions say, you must create a thread. Okay, you can't reply to a thread. You can't do anything else if you don't create a thread and you don't put the name, in this case of NIU, in the thread subject. You will not have that company. If you're one of the late arrivals to the selection process, you will find that a whole bunch of the companies have already been selected. Sorry for that. That's just how how things work. As I said, though, there are plenty of companies here. You don't have to worry about running out. You don't have to worry about the company you picking not having marketing issues. There are a couple of exceptions to that. I would, generally speaking, be careful with companies called holdings. Holdings mean they are parent companies for other companies. Okay, sometimes that can be okay if all of their companies are the same thing. So with Yeti Holdings, this is the people that keep our beverages cold. They pretty much do, all of their businesses look pretty much the same. But sometimes you can run into a financial holdings company that will own an insurance company, and they'll own a bank, and they'll own some real estate, and they'll be kind of confusing to try to deal with. So I'd first avoid holdings, but even more than that, and let's see if I can even find one that may well be that there's not one. No, it looks like there might not be one. I would not have any kind of energy company, with the exception of solar. Or alternative energy. I take that back. Any kind of alternative energy is going to be fine, but you don't want an oil and gas company. They just don't have any interesting marketing issues. Okay? So your job before you get to class on Wednesday is to pick your company. Job of the group when you do get to class on Wednesday is to make sure all of your members have picked a company. And because you're going to be rotating assignments between the companies in your group, and everyone has to have one, and the longer you wait, maybe the less attractive the groups are going to be available. So again, hop on that IPO list, find a company you like, select it in the proper manner, make sure nobody else has picked it before you, because if they picked it before you, you can't have it. And then come to class on Wednesday prepared to talk with your group about pre-planning for your assignment for the following Wednesday. There is not actually an assignment on Wednesday, but there is a significant amount of work that you need to do before you arrive on the Wednesday after Martin Luther King Day, which will be about the 23rd. Okay? So I hope this helped you get started. Good luck on finding a company you like. If you have to work with a company you don't particularly like, no big deal. Happens all the time. Out of the 50 you select, I guarantee there'll be a few that don't really interest me, even if they interest you. Okay? So I will see you again for the first time the Wednesday after Martin Luther King Day. And by the way, thanks for all the real heartfelt emails I received. It really is heartwarming. And as marketers and salespeople, one of the things you need to kind of understand over the years is that when you do have someone who is vulnerable or in pain and you can reach out to them, that's a very powerful influence strategy. It's something people appreciate a lot. So even if you aren't the most caring and loving of people, it's a real good time to act like you are. It's pretty cynical, I guess, but sometimes marketing and selling is all about influence. All right, I will have this uploaded, and you should be able to access it by 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon.